Yo, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, basketball fans, we have an analytics guru in the house. We have a marvelous writer. Substack is popping. Sign up right now. One half of the voice of In the Know. Shout out to Mason. We got a hold on. This is what they don't know. We got a pool shark, and I want my rematch. We got a frisbee prodigy, an elite tweeter with an elite block list. And for some reason, a guy that y'all just seem to hate to love, but y'all still follow him. So we got him in the building. But before we get into that,
Infinity, huh?
Ain't no ending with this here. When the party over, we should be about 60 years old, right? About 100 million drunk, and chilling with our children.
Hey, but tell him, man, this.
that's crazy because BG is free right now. This podcast is brought to you by the Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Book for Media, located at 918 Porter Street by the Superdome. Be sure to give them a call, 504-523-5413. If you or somebody you know has been involved in an accident, be sure to mention we sent you. What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I didn't expect such a positive introduction. That was you really set the stage, and I'm not sure I can live up to all the hype you just provided.
Come on, nah, man. You. Listen, we spent a lot of time in Vegas. We hung out. Like, I've of course seen you before that, but like going out there, it literally, I was like, yeah, Shamit, my dog. Like that's my dog. Like he cool as hell. Like, and for people who don't know, like you cool as hell. We literally were just chilling. I mean, of course, basketball is involved, but it was a lot of like, again, we shot pool. Like we were by the pool. Like it was just like fun times, man. And I think we were talking before the pod started. I think a lot of people get lost in this whole like, dog, we watching the game, we talking about a game, we cheering for a game. It's just a game. There's so much more life outside of this shit.
Yeah. No,
But,
man. Sorry.
No. No. Go ahead, answer. And you good?
I was gonna say the feeling's mutual, and obviously that Vegas trip will be remembered for quite some time. But like as someone who has been on Twitter for a while, kind of seeing different people in the pels community, interacting with different people in the pels community, like watching you kind of become the voice you've become has been a great pleasure to watch. And you call me a phenomenal writer, but I feel like it takes one to know one. So shout out to you, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. You know, as you know on Twitter, you don't really get people don't really tell you good things about yourself often. So it's like, like, okay, cool. But like I do want to give you your flowers because I told Grub this too. You, Grub, Reggie Floyd, y'all were one of the few people like initially that were like embraced me and gave me, even Jake Madison gave me like advice and were like, yeah, man, like listen, when I saw you at the game, the last time I saw you here, and you were like, we were talking about going into the media box, and you were like, yeah, man, you got any questions? Like, just hit me up. And like, I don't really think people understand in this like space, but not only this space, but like in life, man, advice not always free, and people are not always so willing to give it. So like when you get people genuinely like just tapping into whatever you're doing, and just even this shit, like you literally told them like, man, I'm doing a pod before this, you know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, I'll make time for it. Like, man, I appreciate that. Like, thank you, because again, time isn't free either.
No, and I think it's all about the people, and I'm always willing to make time for good people. That's what it is.
I appreciate that. And listen, it's so funny because my first question to you is the first question I asked Christian Clark. Why does everybody hate you on Twitter? Like, why?
Man, I thought we had a time limit on this podcast, so I feel like the hate is overblown in the sense that it gets the most attention and the most visibility, but it's actually a very small portion of the community. And it's really not that many people. I think it's unfair to the people who have been supporting me throughout the years, and do tune into my work and the podcast and whatever I do. So, and the best way I can describe that is, when you're out and about in the city, like, it's still a pretty surreal feeling to me where someone comes up to me and be like, "Hey, I follow you on Twitter. I read your stuff. I love your stuff," which is, it blows my mind, because I'm just like, I'm just a dude with a Twitter account. Like, I don't know if I cut out there or not, but that's how I view myself, and I feel like those people need to get more credit than the haters.
Yep, and I agree with that. Like me and Austin Levy were talking 2 weeks ago, and he taught me something. I told him this. He taught me something years ago. Like, I've been knowing him a long time. I've been knowing him in person and on the internet a long time. He tweeted something years ago where he was saying, "I never highlight the hate. I'm never like my friends or whoever, the people who aren't supporting me. I never highlight them. I just focus on the people who do." And that, I feel like that gets you further, because like, once why aren't you retweeting this? Why aren't you sharing this? Why aren't you like the people who are into it, they will. And like you said, the love is like genuine, man. Like, it's the people who do love you is genuine. So again, talented writer, Substack, genius. Like, I've been listening to you, Mason, for a long time. It's crazy because the first time I met you, you came to the studio. Chris Conner was there. First time I met Chris Conner too. Not giving Chris Conner props, because that's not what we do in this podcast. It's not gonna happen. No flowers for Chris. But the first time I met both of y'all, like, I was just sitting there and I thought I was chilling, and it was kind of like, "Hey, grab a mic, we're about to talk basketball." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like, all right, cool. Like, and it was cool because like nobody really like looked at me like, and even Kev, man, shout out to Kev. Nobody really looked at me and were like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Like, huh? why is he have a mic?" So, what I'm saying? I just appreciate y'all.
No, for sure. And I will be the first to say that I am not the greatest at holding myself back on Twitter. Like, whatever I do on Twitter, I feel like it's pretty authentic, including the random fights that I get into all the time, which I feel like adds fuel to the fire and creates the so-called haters. Because, like, if I say something, I'm gonna stand on it, and I clearly feel strongly about it. I clearly feel strongly about my opinions on the Pelicans, and just there's this weird, it's psychopathic side of me that, like, I just can't back down just on online. But that's not like how I am like in person. Unless you see me on the frisbee field, and same story. But it's weird, and I think over the years I'd like to see I've gotten better at managing the fights I get into online, but I feel like it's probably not true. The more followers there are, the more the more of that happens.
Listen, man, it is one of those things where Twitter is just like, it's a place where people say things that they wouldn't say to you in person. And I don't know why, but people expect you to have restraint. I tell people all the time, like, I'm not a public figure, bro. Like, I'm just a dude with a Twitter. You can't just say anything and think I'm not going to respond to you.
No.
But I digress. I want to talk about you though. Like, you're a real journalist. Like, you really do this for real. Can you tell the people who don't know, like, how you got your start and how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, for sure. One thing I do want to clarify with regards to what you just said, like, I don't consider myself a journalist, and that's not something I choose to identify as, because I feel like the guys who are the real journalists, like Christian Clark, Will Guillory, Andrew Lopez, they not only, like, they do this for a living, and this is just a passion project for me. They legitimately operate at a different standard, and they're asked to do a lot different things, whereas that's not an area that I operate in. And I also don't want to operate in the area. I don't want to be, hey, like, you're held to like this journalistic standards or whatever. Like, I kind of operate in the gray, in my opinion. Whereas I think they operate by the book, and I don't mean that from like an ethical standpoint. I'm not trying to do anything unethical here.
Yeah.
With regards to like news breaking or stories or fabricating stuff or things like that. Like not doing any of this for clout, but I think it is an important distinction that like the actual journalists, like they put in the work at an entirely different level than I do, and their livelihood depends on that stuff. Whereas me, I have a day job. You were talking about that before this podcast, and how I got the start. How I got my start. Literally, I grew up watching them as the Hornets, and I would want to talk about Chris Paul because I'm like, man, this guy is awesome, and I was always into numbers, always into like the stats kind of things. And at that time, like John Hollinger had just kind of come out with his PER, and that was like the biggest advanced stat at that time. And Chris Paul was like number one, like number one. I'm like, oh, it's a great stat. Chris Paul's number one. It must be a great stat. And I just wanted to look for outlets where other people enjoy talking about basketball. So I got on different forums. So I got on
I thank you.
Okay, cool. So I was saying that I like to go on online forums a lot when I was a kid, just like Hornets 247, and that transitioned into me finding Reddit. And I was really, really big on NBA Reddit in its early days. I commented a lot, pretty much my entire thought process. I was one of the creators of the Pelican subreddit, and from there on, I transitioned to Twitter because everyone would post Wojnarowski or Mark Stein or whoever were the newsbreakers. They would post those links on Reddit. And I'm like, well, why do I got to have a secondhand source? Let me just go to the source, which is Twitter, and follow these people, get all my basketball news all at once. And then I started tweeting stuff out into the ether, just randomly, like, hey, like just my thoughts, having 0 followers. And just like from there on, I feel like people kind of trickled in over time. And I think the first thing I did was with the bird rights. We had discussed, and they weren't called the bird rights at that time, I don't think, but we had kind of discussed the thing. And I put out an article about like Anthony Davis's like shot blocking ability, and they were like, oh, this is great. And then like I had a couple other folks reach out to me, and Bourbon Street Shots eventually reached out to me, and they were like, you want to like be someone that writes about the team frequently? I'm like, what does that entail? They're like, well, we can get you credentialed. And I'm like, I'm in. Like, I'm in. You know, say less, and so it just kind of started from there, where once I got attached with Bourbon Street Shots, that kind of like lent me a greater following as well. And so like shout out to Jason Commies, who is someone I consider my mentor in this space. He like really helped me find my own voice, and has edited countless of the things I've written, and really provided me with so much like cap knowledge, pushed me to be like a better writer and someone who understands the game at a higher level. And he kind of set me up with the process, got me credentialed with the team and all of that. And once I got credentialed, I was able to build relationships with folks on the team and folks around the team, and other media personalities and other reporters. And it just kind of snowballed from there. But literally, I just started off as someone who had a crazy desire to talk about basketball nonstop, and just looking for any online outlet, and finding Twitter, and that turning into this, like, so it could be anybody. You just have to tweet enough. I think that's all I gotta say.
No, you know what? It's funny because I say that all the time. Like, like people are like, "What do you do?" I was like, I just be tweeting, man. I don't know, but man, shout out to Bourbon Street Shots. Shout out to everybody making content for the Pels and in general. It's dope to hear so many different voices, in opinions and shit from, people, because I remember when there weren't a lot of voices. I remember, you had to hear from certain people. Also, shout out to you. I love Reddit. Shout out to Big Snooker. That's my guy. I follow him on Twitter now. He's funny as hell. I didn't know he was a DJ in real life. That's crazy.
That guy is hilarious, man. Top 5 follow on Twitter for sure.
Yeah. Yes, he is. He is. Yes, and it's so funny like that. We're not gonna talk about it, but the thread that how we got here with him on Reddit. But speaking of Chris Paul, how you think he gonna be with the Warriors?
Unhappy. I think he's gonna be unhappy coming off the bench. But I think it's an objectively right decision for that. So I think there's going to be a lot of strong personalities there. And unfortunately for Chris Paul, he's going to be in a situation for the first time in his life where he's not like the most accomplished person on the team. Right. So you look at his previous stints, New Orleans, he got his start and he kind of became the face of the franchise. Went over to the Clippers. Blake was just a young guy at that point. So he wasn't like the most experienced dude. And Chris was a multi-time All-Star, All-NBA, MVP runner-up by then. From the Clippers, he went to the Rockets, to the Thunder. At each stage, he's kind of been like the elder statesman, right? And now he's finally entering a Warriors team where, like, for age-wise, he might be there, but success-wise, absolutely not, right? So Steph, Draymond, Clay, Andre, they all have won more than him. Wiggins has won more than him at this point, right? So I'm so interested to see how that dynamic fold out where he is not the most senior, most venerated member of the team. And those strong personalities mesh with each other. But at the end of the day, like, they're all competitors. So, like, I think he'll suck it up and do what's needed to win. And from a basketball standpoint, like, they just signed Usman Garuba to a two-way. I really like that pickup for them.
Me too.
He's going to make Kuminga a lot better. Just a lot of these other young players like Moody, just who have not had, like, Jordan Poole, talented scorer, but he's not going to get these folks involved. And Chris Paul, like, as one thing he's done his whole career is make other people better. And, he's able to make Bismack Biyombo look like a legitimate big man in 2022. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, those guys are really going to, I think, excel. And so the Warriors should be a good team. I don't like their closing lineup that's projected on paper with, like, they're super small with Chris and Steph and Clay and Draymond at the 5 and Wiggins at the 4. Like, that's a tiny, tiny team. But who knows? Maybe they're just scoring 1 million points and it's impossible to guard.
Yo, it's so funny. Chris Paul's greatest accomplishment is probably making Bismack serviceable.
No, bro, that's selling him short, man. Come on.
Like,
greatest accomplishment?
I mean, dog, like, Bismack had hands like Ashik. Like, it didn't matter. Like, he could never just accept the entry pass. Chris Paul made him look like, especially against us, Chris made him look like he was like a Walmart version of Olajuwon or something. Like, I'm like, yo, this is Bismack beyond. But I think that goes to Chris's, like, greatness. Excuse me. I'm with you. Like, I don't like that lineup, but I really do think from a basketball standpoint, man, I think it's smart. If he can stay healthy, that's just right. That's the thing with him. He's just like snake bit. I don't know why.
They've all gone up in age now, and they miss games. I mean, they're all going to miss the Pels games. I'm not really going to cry about that.
You forgot to say something. You forgot one person though. Rodney fucking Magruder got signed also. So
that was hilarious though. You seen them bring up the Clay quote on him?
Yeah.
That one's actually pretty funny, man. That one's actually funny.
I love how, like, all these people who don't like each other are, like, getting on the same team now. I remember where Dre was saying that he just totally hates Chris Paul. Like, I would never want to play with that guy. And then they got him, and then it's like, all right. I got a question though. I saw Dre and Chris working out this summer. I thought that was interesting because why teammates don't work out anymore? Like, I don't really see teammates doing that anymore. Like, for instance, and I'm bringing this point up because listening to Larry in the Spaces, and Larry was kind of like, I'm in Cleveland. I haven't really talked to him. We've spoken to Borrego, but we haven't, like, seen each other. Bi's over here. He's in FIBA. Zion's doing whatever he's doing. And I was like, I mean, granted, I get everybody has their own personal life that they're living, especially in the summer. It's not mandatory, but I was just like, why don't players work out anymore together?
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you take off from work, when you're on vacation, how often you call on your coworkers, seeing what they're up to?
You got me. Never.
Right.
No,
it's a job. It's a job, yeah. and that's how it is for the vast majority of players. And I think De'Aaron Fox was even tweeting about it the other day. I think that's healthy. I think that's okay. Like, I think as fans, we was kind of sold to this idea of like, this is something bigger than what it is, and they're gonna rally together and all this kind of stuff. They're pursuing this greater goal, and they're gonna sacrifice it. It's a job. And a lot of people do like their job, and a lot of people do like the people they work with. And some people like Draymond and Chris Paul are literal psychopaths when it comes to trying to win, and so they will do anything to make that work, including working out together. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is. It's like these off seasons come, these vacations come, All-Star break and that kind of stuff. And players really, really value their time. And it's become a situation where everyone's contract earns them enough money so they can just have a private crew with them, pretty much whenever. Right.
Yeah.
It's not that they're going to have to struggle finding gyms and that kind of stuff. They can pay for access to anything. They can have their chef with them. They can have their workout guy with them. They can have the trainer with them, all of that. And they don't necessarily need their teammate to push them. Would we as fans like to see that? Absolutely. Does it make for a good story? Yeah, it definitely does. But they're just treating it as a job.
And that was that's why you. The reversal of that question, because I never want to hang out with my coach. I don't want to see them not only on my summer, I don't want to see them afterward. So no, I get it. I'm sorry, Larry. I'm sorry. So there's reports now of Dame possibly going to Toronto or not going, because I know he says that he only wants to go one place. But how do you feel about that? How do you feel about Dame in Toronto, first off? And what do you think that deal would be?
I think, first off, that would be objectively the most funniest outcome of this whole situation. I am rooting for anything but Miami, because I think at my heart, I root for chaos, and that's just kind of where I'm at. As long as Pelicans win, that's priority number one, right? But outside of that, it's if they, if it doesn't relate to the Pelicans, or the Pelicans aren't winning, I root for chaos next. And after all of this bantering, and this is you kind of see the Heat media and the Heat fans, and then the Portland media and the Portland fans just at each other's necks for the last 3.5 months. And it's just become exhausting and tiring, and them just saying the same stupid stuff over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden he goes to Toronto. That would be hilarious. And then you come on the fact where he's anywhere but Toronto. If Dame Lillard went to Toronto, his agent's saying stuff if Dame Lillard went to Toronto, he's jumping off the Rose Garden. He's just gonna stand in front of a bus or something. He's just never anywhere but Toronto, and he's gonna retire and become a full-time rapper. And so that aspect of it is really, really funny to me. And I do think that some of it right now is probably trying to bring Miami to the table. Miami's what I think is Miami's giving them an offer, and it's definitely not their best offer. And they're if you find a better deal, whatever, but you're not getting a better deal than this. And so some of this is to kind of, hey, Toronto's right there. Masai will do it. He's done it before. I think some of that is going on at the moment, but some of it is Masai does like to insert himself in these conversations. And they do got young players like Grady Dick and Scotty Barnes who can make a very, very enticing package. And they definitely have more picks to offer than Miami does. So I think that from a basketball fit, if they're able to keep OG and Pascal, that's a fun team. That's the best team Dame's been on for sure. The best wings, best front court he's had. I would root for that team, and I'm glad to be in the East.
I agree with you. I think I'm tired of the Dame saga in general. Like I feel like if Dame's situation doesn't teach people anything, is that like you literally live long enough to see yourself become the villain. The fan base that he is carried on his back for however many years, right? Like now they're saying, whatever about him. And I get it as a fan, like you're like, oh, you don't want to be here. But it's like, what else could he do there? Like, and I think that to me, the reason I'm saying that, I think he was trying to please the fan base in the situations. Like, yo, bro, just do whatever you want to do. Because at the end of the day, they gonna hate you anyway.
Yeah, man. You can't win, especially if you have, I don't know, 35 million followers. I don't know how many followers he's got, but like that's too many people to please. No decision you make as an individual in any situation is gonna have 100% approval rate. So look out for the one who matters the most, which is you. Now on the flip side, if Portland's management then decides they're going to prioritize their well-being over his, that's entirely fair too. The game is the game. Like, and I just don't see a big deal about what's happening. Like, Dame's trying to do what he's trying to do, and Portland's trying to do what they're trying to do, and it sucks. It sucks for the fans. The fans are the ones that always get caught in the middle, but the game is the game.
The game is the game, and you have to play the game. But hey, man, at least they got a 0-0. We gonna get to that. So there were tweets when this whole Dame. This is my last Dame question, I promise. But there were tweets from people in Pelicans fans basically saying they wouldn't want him to come here, and it was kind of like the KD thing. Like, I don't want Kevin Durant here. Like, who do we think we are? Who do we think we are? How do you tell Dame? No, I get it. You don't want a Dame CJ backcourt again. I feel like the most logical argument I could see was we saw that happen and it wasn't successful, even though I can't say it wasn't successful. Yeah, it didn't result in a championship, but also like look at the talent that was around them at that time as compared to what would be around them now. But anyways, did you see that, and what do you feel about that?
I did see that sentiment. Yeah, as you see it with any potential, that the Pelicans show in any kind of star, like there's always some loud vocal minority. And I do want to emphasize it's a minority of people that share this belief. I do not believe for 1 second it's how the vast majority of people think, because the vast majority of the average fan, they're not even on Twitter, right? The folks that buying tickets to the games, they will love to see Dame Lillard. Like that place is gonna sell out if Dame Lillard's there. But going back to like the Twitter folks, like yeah, like they always have something to say when the Pelicans are rumored to be targeting some star or another. And you talk about how CJ and Dame weren't successful and how they literally never missed the playoffs. And like the Pelicans have made the playoffs once in the last 5, so it's just like, just operating on different levels of success. And I just don't understand where that level of entitlement comes from in some of the fans' minds, where it's just like, well, we can't give up on this thing that clearly hasn't worked for the last 4 years. But it kind of half worked for a certain period of time. So it's just, I don't know if I don't understand it, man. It's not a mentality I will ever understand. I obviously, as someone who's been a fan of this team since the Chris Paul days, and has been covering them for quite some time, it's so much more fun to root for and cover a team that's good. And I don't care what it takes to be good, just make it happen. So like, yep. I like the players, right? I'm a big fan of some of them. Big fan of some of them. But if they happen to be traded somewhere else and this team became a good team, I'm going to be all right. They're going to be all right. World's going to go on, So like, I just feel like everyone gets attached to what they have, which is, part of fandom. But it gets crazy when you start talking about like folks that aren't even in the rotation is untouchable, and it's just
Bro.
like that
Oh
gets
my
crazy to
God.
me. So that's not something I will ever understand. But you do you. I'm never gonna tell people how to be a fan.
That's maniacal. That's maniacal, yo. Like Dame isn't good enough. KD isn't good enough. What are we? Whatever. Yeah, I agree with that sentiment too.
Oh,
Also,
gotta preserve the culture. Gotta preserve the culture.
yeah, that's going well. That yeah. Never mind. We'll get there. You went to the NBA draft. What was that experience like, and how did that happen?
Yo, that was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Just covering the team. It kind of shook out Justin Bukru was talking to me about, hey, we should get you out to the draft. Like, let's get you out there. Let's get so we can get, like your face out there and have something from Boot Crew because the Pels had the 8th pick and very likely like the other media guys were not going to go. So we'd be the first people out there. Problem was getting credentialed. And so what ended up happening was my boy Fletcher came through and he's like, you're going to go on the behalf of WDSU. You're going to be a WDSU correspondent, just kind of like elevated me to that position, kind of, and sent me a bunch of equipment. And he was like, all right, we're going to have you get clips for us from the draft so we can, post it on our platform. And then you can do your thing for Boot Crew on the side too, like if you need to. And I was like, that's great. So he actually helped a lot with the credential application, and it was on the behalf of WSU that I was officially there. And obviously I was able to promote Boot Crew blogs and create some content that way, but without Fletcher and without WDSU, like that was not happening. So collaborative effort on those two people's parts. And when I was there, again, it was a situation where I was literally the only like Pels media person, entity, whatever there. And the team was super kind. Well, first of all, I get to Barclays on the day of the draft, like make my entrance, and here's walking Trey Murphy. And he looks at me, he's like, yo, bro, what's up, bro? And then he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm just here, covering the team and all that. He's like, all right, like, let's, why don't you, my mic though. He's like, why don't you come with me? Let's I was like, 'cause I didn't know where to go at that point. He's like, I'm going to the red carpet. Like, just come with me. And like, I don't even know if I was credentialed to be there or not, but I just kind of attached myself to Trey and followed him. And he was hosting the thing for Complex at the time. He was interviewing all of the incoming rookies and asking a bunch of questions. And so like this is Trey. I'm to his right, and like Taylor Rooks to his left, and then like ESPN and SI, like all these other like personalities, like everyone's there, and it's just little me just like right there also at the front taking pictures of everybody. So that was a very cool experience because Trey, like I didn't think I'd have that level of access. And then the draft kind of started. We had media seats, and afterwards I was in touch with the Pelicans. Kind of told them I was like, hey, like I'm here, and they're like, cool, like you can work with our social media folks and PR folks, and they'll kind of show you where you need to go to find our draft pick, like because they have separate breakout rooms to do like the interviews and the questions and all of that. And I was able to find them, and they were like the coolest people, Tatiana and Chris, the coolest people. And they were like, you're like, hey, yeah, just follow us, like just come with us. And also because of them, I think I was able to get into some behind the scenes things that I probably wouldn't have had the access to necessarily, but they were just like, yeah, no, he's with us, and got to basically follow Dyson around at each step of the way, like behind the scenes, and just take a bunch of pictures. And really, really cool experience. Like it felt like a VIP treatment, but yeah, I mean, it was extremely enjoyable.
Shout out to Tatiana and Chris. Shout out to Trey, man. Trey, I've never met him, but like he seems like a very cool guy. His dad's cool as hell. Like that's my guy,
bro. Let me tell you, he straight up FaceTimed his pops. When he saw him, he's like, all right, hold up. He like pulled out his phone. He's like, called his dad, FaceTime. He's like, look who I got with me. I was like, what is going on, man?
Dog,
So
like
yeah, Trey is awesome.
his mom and dad are like so cool. Like I met them at the wrestling down once. Well, I met his mom once, but like every time I see his dad, it's always like, Lito, what's up, man? Like, how you, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I was with you, Summer League. And like he was just sitting down, just like shooting shit with us, just telling us like what Trey had worked on this summer, what he had worked on, and what like he was trying to do. And like it was like he was just he just cool, man. And I could see why Trey is cool because like his parents are just dope. So
Amazing family, man. Amazing family. Just
yeah, man.
all around awesome people.
Looking forward to seeing them again. So you mentioned Dyson. What do you expect from Dyson coming into this season? Like, what do you expect for him to be better at? What do you expect for him to kind of like? What do you expect for him to? I'm not looking for stats, but just like just be good at it.
Yeah, so I think with Dyson, look, I think there's this sentiment on Pels Twitter and amongst the Pels fan base that he needs to be good now. He
Mhm.
needs to be something now. It's a waste of a pick. And I definitely understand that sentiment because of how previous picks have panned out for the Pelicans and um, the opportunity cost stings, right? You could have drafted Walker Kessler, you could have drafted whoever, whatever draft person you want to name. You could have drafted J Dub. To
Right.
me, with Dyson, they very clearly drafted him with this idea time you're just like, no, like we're done with you. You're taking too long. So you
Mhm.
gotta be patient.
So going into I guess this season for him, the argument on the timeline is always like Dyson's not a point guard. He's a wing. He's a this. He's a that. What do you see him as? Like, what do you see him as to be successful?
On this team, he needs to kind of become a version of either Andre Iguodala that is like with the Warriors, because that guy was really not a shooter, but he did everything else and is able to connect all these things. But some of that success comes from him being surrounded by the best shooters in the world. So the team kind of needs to find those guys that Dyson can help raise the floor with. Um, or some version of Lonzo Ball where it's like your three ball is hitting and you're taking them at a pretty high volume. And I think the in between of those two guys is Marcus Smart, who
Mm.
he takes a lot of threes. He doesn't necessarily hit them, but he always seems to hit them when they hurt you the most. But you don't have those opportunities if you take two shots a game, right? So Dyson, what he can't be is he can't be the PJ Tucker of guards. Like that, this team is not built to handle that unless he can defend the five, and I don't think that's where he's going to be best suited at. You want him on guys like Luka and Booker and Ja and SGA, like that's who you want him guarding. But if he can be Marcus Smart level competent from three, I think the rest of his game will open up.
This podcast is going to be called "Dyson Can't Be the PJ Tucker of Guards." That was that was great. That was amazing. I agree with you. Also, I think he got to be aggressive and look for his shot. It was a lot of times he got to the paint and he just necessarily just didn't look for it. Can you play Dyson and Herb together?
You can if Zion's on the court. Ironically, adding another non-shooter. But those other two guys better be Trey and better be one of Bi or CJ. The thing is, I think they can, as long as Zion's healthy, they can probably get enough offense out of any unit. But that unit doesn't work with Bi, in my opinion. If Zion's not healthy, if it's like CJ, Bi, Trey, Dyson, and Herb, I don't think they're that great of a unit. I don't think they have any inherent advantages of going small outside of just being able to switch a lot. I don't think they're going to get enough offense out of that unit. But with Zion, he kind of changed the makeup of everything. But I would strongly advise them not to attempt to do this. That being said, I will say, if Dyson more real.
So, what do you say to people who would be like, you don't think it will work at BI, but people say that BI is a better passer than Zion, or he gets his teammates more involved than Zion. Like, what do you say to that?
Nobody he's passing the ball to is a better scorer than Zion, so it does. I don't care. I mean, like, look, his passing is very valuable, so it's not fair for me to say I don't care. I do want him to be like the quote unquote primary playmaker to set the table rather than like CJ. And Zion should just kind of focus on scoring first and then playmaking as a product of his scoring second. Rather than, because I think, I've talked about this with other folks, but point Zion to me is really not, I'm making sure everyone's fed. That's not what Zion's doing when he's playing point guard. Point Zion is, you set a screen for me, I'm going to go to the rim and I'm going to score 8 times out of 10. And if I can score 8 times out of 10, that's a damn good offense, right?
Yeah.
And so, but Brandon, I think if you kind of take away his roles and prioritize playmaking first and then scoring, I think you can see a lot of creative things. But to answer your question about, is he a better passer than Zion? I don't know. I mean, like, statistically, yes, but like, I don't know if Zion needs to be that, because 9 times out of 10, the correct basketball decision for Zion is to go score the ball. Right? Zion passing the ball to anybody else is a lower value possession than Zion going to the rim, because he's either going to get to the free throw line or he's going to make the shot or get his own rebound if he misses, right? Those combinations, those 3 things just make him an outlier in that space. So like when you go back to Brandon, unless he's passing the ball to Trey for a lob, or, Trey on average, like no one's reaching the level of efficiency when you look at the average expected value of the outcome. Of the possession. So it's just like, yeah, like Brandon's cool at passing, but Zion can just score.
Zion is like, he's like just fucking Weapon X. Like, I don't know how you clarify him. I'm not sure like how you put his ability into words. He's just Zion. What do you make of BI's FIBA role or lack thereof? Or do you make anything of it?
I don't make anything of it with regards to his NBA play. Especially with the Pelicans, he's just never going to be in that kind of a role where he has to do those things. I do think it doesn't clear up any concerns that people had about him if they already had those concerns. So if they had the concerns of how is he able to play next to other high usage players and make himself useful off ball, FIBA didn't clear that up for you, right? How is he willing to do the quote unquote little things and impact the game off the ball? Like, FIBA didn't clarify that for you. But again, the NBA game is completely different, so you can't look at it as a 1-to-1 translation. Would I have liked to see him do all those things and perform better? Sure. Am I concerned about that impacting his ability on the Pelicans? Not at all.
Yeah, same here. Like, I think a lot more went into it than BI's personal performance. I think it was just a lot of, bro. Like, I didn't realize I didn't like Jalen Brunson's game that much. Like, I didn't know that until FIBA. Like, maybe I saw him sparingly. In Dallas, of course, like Luka's usage is crazy, and in New York, I don't know. I really didn't watch a lot of Knicks games, to be honest. So to see how he played, or in that setting, when I see Halliburton, who is the better initiator of the offense, to me a better player than Brunson overall. Like, it was just kind of like, I don't know. I had questions about like Kerr and the coaching staff too, like just about how like the game plan was implemented, because it's like how Steve plays, how his team plays, right? in contrast to how this FIBA team played, it was like, what the fuck is this? I thought it would be a lot more movement. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I think the two people that you named, Brunson and Kerr, were definitely the two quote unquote most exposed in the FIBA setting. So Ant-Man obviously decided he wanted to be the superhero, and he was for a lot of stretches, but you can't have him doing that and have a guy like Brunson paired with that. And consistently have his backups outperform him on a crazy level, you know. And Kerr unable to make the proper adjustments. I mean, his adjustment was bench and BI, which doesn't solve the original issue. BI just, it's not like BI was taking away usage from those folks. He wasn't. He was barely getting any touches, right? And so Kerr, kind of like a lot of coaches in the NBA, are for whatever reason, vets got them in a chokehold. Like they're gonna play the vet over the younger player first and kind of cater to that vet. And I do understand some aspects of it, but at the end of the day, like, you should put your best foot forward when you're trying to win. And Halliburton was clearly better, right? I would say Reeves was better, and Reeves got lit up defensively, but not like Brunson was providing you any defensively anyway. So it's just like, that was not FIBA was not handled well by Kerr, and then I don't think it was a well-designed team either.
It was not a well-designed team. I you know what? Since we're here, I need to give Austin Reeves his props. Austin, I'm sorry. Like, not that I didn't think he was good, but I don't know. There was a thing where we were talking Herb versus Austin, and I think I said Herb was probably the better player overall. I can't go with that anymore. I think Austin is, and it really didn't take FIBA to say it, but FIBA kind of like exposed him more, just because you saw him actually play with talent and be, he was still himself. Like, he was still the NBA version of him. Minus the defense, of course. I mean, you're not gonna get that with him. But on the other side, like, you wouldn't get that scoring with her in that same like aspect. It would be just different. I don't know, man. Like, that was just a very disappointing. Take everybody off that team except Ant and probably Halliburton, and like, let's move forward.
Jaren Jackson, I thought, was unfairly scrutinized because of his lack of rebounding. Despite his lack of rebounding, USA like dominated in the minutes that he played, and everyone was like, "Oh, we could have played Kessler. You got to play Kessler," and they sucked in the Kessler minutes, right? They were not very good when they went to Paolo at the 5, unless they were just blowing out terrible teams with their bench units, right? So it was Jaren Jackson. They couldn't really win without him, and when he got sick, and then when he fouled out, like, those were the games that they just kind of collapsed. And like, there should never be a situation where you win the minutes with Jaren Jackson on the court by 12, and then you lose the minutes that he's not on the court by 22. Team USA should never lose any situation by 22. For Jaren Jackson, no. I mean, like, so to kind of go back to like a poorly constructed team, he was a very pivotal part of it, but part of it was also like they had nothing behind him for bigs that were reliable.
Speaking of bigs, JV is the Shaquille O'Neal of FIBA. Like, I don't know what the hell JV. I don't know what's in the Lithuanian water when it comes to FIBA play. I mean, I do get it though, because he's representing his country, so like, it's totally different than obviously. Like, I watched Jokic win the NBA title and just was like, but he won FIBA when they FIBA, he like, he's like all into
crazy, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I get it, but like, man, like, you see JV for a second consecutive year dominate FIBA. Why won't the Pels? I don't know. Get him involved in, I don't know, NBA basketball. I'm asking that. I want to hold on, and before you answer that, I want to say this, right? I want to back it up with this. So I see JV switching roles in FIBA against the Americans. He had 3 blocks. He was dominating defensively on the glass, offensive boards and defensive boards. He had 3 blocks. He was scoring proficiently. So you telling me the best talent? I would say America probably had the most talented team all around in FIBA. They just didn't play together. So you telling me he couldn't do that against Bobby Portis in the NBA? Like I don't like what I don't know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He can do this, and we've seen him do this. We literally saw him be a foundational piece in their playoff push the year they made the playoffs, and then they went away from a lot of that stuff the following year to accommodate Larry. And I have very, very strong opinions on this. I thought the coaching staff misused him, and I thought I really do think, and I have no way to prove this. This is complete speculation, unsourced. Do not aggregate me on this. No way to know this, but I think this team bends over backwards to accommodate CJ and Larry because they are the voices, they're the leaders of this team. And they've elevated them. First, they needed to elevate them to legitimize this team a little bit because remember when they were traded for, they were dealing with this idea of Zion not with the team. Zion's in Portland, like the team's a mess. The optics were bad. So they brought in these 2 professionals. They were brought in to be the stabilizing force. And something that was necessary for that to occur was them elevating their voices and giving them power as leaders, empowering them, right? So they can go on their podcast, so they can go on the spaces and go and be positive advocates for the team. They were compensated very, very well for those roles. They immediately landed extensions, right? And now they've gotten to the point where the toothpaste can't be put back in the tube, and their vision of how the team should operate reflects on how the coaching staff chooses to implement some players. So here's what I mean. Larry last year on multiple occasions publicly in spaces and in media sessions and all of that very openly talked about, his ability to switch 1 through 5 and how all the best teams go small and how like everyone talks about the Raptors being a team 6'9" and like they have all the guys that do it too. The Raptors were not good when they played small ball. Pretty much every team that goes small without shooting ends up being not good. The finals have been dominated by big men. And you can go back to even when Golden State won it, they were playing Looney. They were playing Looney and Draymond together. On the other side, there was Al Horford and Time Lord in all of that. And so, like, for the vast majority of play, the Warriors wanted to play Looney. And in some situations, they had to play Draymond at the 5, right? And going prior to that, AD, Dwight, like, they played big as much as possible. When the Raptors won it, they had Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka. Like, the big man's been here, right? Everyone's kind of been small ball pilled with Golden State doing this stuff and the Rockets doing this stuff, but no one has Steph Curry. No one has James Harden to kind of make up for all of that. And so the players, for whatever reason, I think those 2 specifically have seen those teams succeed a lot and kind of made the conclusion, like, this is how we should operate. This is what our skill set dictates. And I think they have an undue influence on the coaching staff on implementing that vision, and the coaching staff will appease them. And that's part of why it took so long to get CJ off the ball, because he thought he was a lead guard. CJ, like, I'm the leader of this team. I'm the captain. And we saw the last 15 games when they put the ball in BI's hands, like what he could do as a point guard, right? And they got CJ off the ball more. We didn't see point Zion until literally everybody got hurt. And then they're like, fine, we'll give Zion the ball. They were putting him in the post. And so I think a part of this is because they can't tell their vets no. And you also see this manifest themselves when these guys are playing through insane injuries that they should not be playing in and compromising their future career. And like because like you're playing through the shoulder and this knee and this thumb and all of this stuff for what? To miss the playoffs? Because you guys want to make a point, right? But nobody on the management side can tell them no. Like, actually, you should not be playing through this stuff. You should sit. But nobody has the clout. So it's just like they've kind of painted themselves into this corner, and they kind of have to deal with the consequences.
Shout out to CJ. Honestly, like I was really hard on him last year. I didn't. I mean, of course, we didn't know about his injury to his shoulder. So like that. I mean, the game is the game. I have to critique what I see. Um, as far as what you said, I totally agree. Again, unsourced here. I don't know anything. I've heard nothing. There are no rumblings to back this up. But I want to say that I can understand at some point acquiescing to CJ. He's accomplished in the NBA. I mean, 10 straight seasons of 20 points a game. You know what I'm saying? Like he's never made an all-star team, but damn near took a team to the finals based on a game 7 or game 6 CJ. It's a real thing. Like, against Denver at that. No offense to Larry, but Larry's a role player. JV is better than Larry. And I don't even think that's offensive to call him a role player, but he's a role player.
Bro,
JV is better than Larry.
I feel like I come off as such a hater for agreeing with you here, but like, Larry, again, another guy that's absolutely amazing to cover as an athlete, as a professional. The stuff he does with space is absolutely incredible. Like fans getting this level of access to a player is unprecedented. Like no other fan base is doing this on the regular, right? Shout out Chris. Just
no.
Okay. We'll walk. Shout out Larry. But no other fan base is doing that. Extremely knowledgeable about the game, very clearly puts in the work and has high standards, right? But like when I hear him talk about, like offense is gonna go through me more, I'm just like to what end? Like, what are we accomplishing here? And like, I get some of his stuff, right? Like, okay, use me as a little bit of a hub, passing, free up some of the other guys because I'm not really a shooter. So like, if you put the ball in my hands, someone has to guard me. I get all of that, but this idea of like I'm gonna be less passive and like be more aggressive and start taking more shots and just kind of like this idea of running an offense through him. I hope it's in spurts and through like scripted plays and dedicated looks where you're taking advantage of some of these things, but and not so much like, okay, hey, this is the bench and it's yours to kind of run. Like we can't lose sight of the fact that it's still Zion and BI, like it's their show. And also like it's a better investment to try to figure out whatever the hell Dyson can give you, whatever Trey can give you on ball, whatever Herb can give you, whatever Kyra can give you. It's a better investment long term to figure those things out than to trying to turn Larry into Draymond.
A non-shooter, he is switchable, but when he switches, when he's in the game for JV, we get out rebounded. It's a catch-22. You got to pick your poison there because, JV is slow of foot. I'm in a camp of a lot of times the perimeter players last year sold units out. They did not cover their ground. They did not cover their bases. They did not help with if we're playing drop, they did not help him out. Nobody covered the backside. So Jonas Man is out. Like, what do you want me to do? I'm in no man's land a lot. And then on the other side of the ball, I can't even get a look to retaliate. So I don't know. It's frustrating. I have concern. This is what I want to ask you. What is the best option in your opinion? What was the best center option for the team? And if the Pels were going to use Jonas how they used him last year, why wasn't he moved?
Are you talking about best center option on the roster or best center option?
No, like out there, like in your opinion, just in your opinion.
Man, that's tough, right? So I think if contracts weren't a thing, and you look at guys that are acquirable, so you can't pick Jokic, you can't pick Embiid, right? You can't pick those guys. I would say Towns would be the guy I would put on the team because he might bring you similar quote unquote defensive concerns as JV, the dude is an absolute elite shooter, and you just have not had that next to Bi or in Zion, right? You just have not had a stretch five, someone who's willing and happy. Yep. You give Towns 10 threes, that boy's gonna smile ear to ear. Like he's like, I'm gonna bang in the post. That's great. Zion, you go do all that. So, that is a look and a dynamic they just have not had. But Towns is got a massive contract. So it's a little bit difficult to trade for. So we walk that back. The next all-star that comes to mind swings the other way, not a shooter, really athletic, rebounder, fits the age profile, super young, Jared Allen, right? All-star. Again, a lot of the same reasons we have not had a mobile. I mean, we had Jackson, but Jackson's not rebounding the ball. Jackson is not actually a good defender. He's a guy that can make good defensive plays.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Allen is a good defender and makes good defensive plays.
Mm-hmm.
So you haven't had a vertical threat for Bi and Z, and that's a different level of spacing. Okay, I can't get a shooter. Let me get the guy that I can throw it up to, right? Or like they can run the floor and do those type of things. And so those were the things. Now, if you're looking at budget centers, budget guys, the guy that I was a big fan of trying to acquire this summer was Zach Collins, because I'm like, he makes $7 million a year. He's 7 foot. He's actually a sneaky good defender, sneaky good rim protector, and he can shoot, score, and pass. He is a really, really good passer. So like that's one of those. He's 24 or 25, I believe. Again, pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
You bet on that. You bet on him, and you sign him to a contract that lasts in the rest of his prime. So 24 to 28 or whatever, whatever that contract looks like. But you get him in the best years of his career. And the problem with him is he hasn't been able to stay healthy, which is not something I think this team is willing to stomach at this moment when it comes to player acquisitions. But that's a buy low type of player where like when Milwaukee picked up Brook Lopez for like $3 million and like he turned into the current Brook Lopez. You're like, oh shit, okay. So I think small market teams and teams like the Pelicans have to find a way to hit on some kind of upside, hit on some kind of variance, and they got to take some of these swings. And Zach Collins fit that mold a little bit. The other guy I was into was Porzingis. He got traded to Boston, but again, same concept as Towns is like Porzingis can actually protect the rim. You're not going to really rebound the ball that much. He's a decent rebounder last year. Actually, he was pretty solid. He still would have been, I think, statistically the Pels' best rebounder, but he's not JV, right? Blocks a lot of shots. His advanced numbers were really, really good, and he was crazy efficient. So just another guy where you're like, okay, you have to deal with somebody that's 7'2", and spotting up from 30 feet out. But not just spotting up. I mean, he's a legitimate offensive threat.
So I really like I think Cat is interesting. But like you said, it's just the money for him. Because that floor spacing would be incredible, especially for Zion to operate in, having Trey, Bi, CJ, all on the perimeter, and Cat all on the perimeter, and he like everything. It's wide open for him. I'm totally like going left here, and I wanted to say this actually before we moved on, but you were saying that Bi got the ball later in the season due to CJ's injury. Bro, part of my issue with that whole thing is, and I'm sorry to jump back, but part of my issue with that whole thing is like we play so slow. Like the pace is so annoying to me. You got a young team and we like just walking down the court. You're not taking advantage of any of the youth and athleticism. I don't understand.
You saw that with Jose, right? Like everybody saw it. Every time Jose checked in, a switch would flip. And It was like if electricity was running through the court and everybody was just playing faster and all of a sudden like everyone's had their cup of coffee and the ball is jumping around and the players are cutting and all that kind of stuff. But then you take Jose out, it's dribble, fake, up fake, fade away. It's just like it's tough. And it's like Jose, I don't think Jose is as good as a lot of Pelicans fans think he is. I think he's a very, very good backup. But for what he provided them and the change of pace he provided them, that I think was an outsized level of impact for what he is paid to do essentially.
Talent wise, you feel like Kyra is better than Jose?
Yeah, I think Kyra has more talent, but we just we haven't had any opportunity
Yeah,
to see anything in that regard. And now the team's just too far along to where they can't give him that opportunity. Like for small guards to be successful, they have to be not competent. They just have to be good offensively. They just have to make a difference offensively. Jose is a little bit of an outlier in that situation because he forces so many turnovers, and turnover generation is like the most valuable thing you could do on the court, and because it takes a shot away from them and it gives you a shot, and often those are high percentage shots because they're in transition. And he is solid offensively. I don't think he's excellent, but like anybody who can drop 38 or however many he had on the Nuggets, and he was reliable enough. But like Kyra, I legitimately thought could be a guy that could give you 18 a night pretty consistently.
mm-hmm.
I thought he could have been like a Ty Lawson or someone like Schroeder or someone that can just score. You can reliably score, but we're just not. We're in a stage of the Pelicans' trajectory where they're just not going to give him that kind of offensive usage because they can't afford to play around and find out if he can be that guy. So I just don't think he can be that on this team.
The crazy part about that to me is like I hear Willie or I hear Griff talking about, want to find out who Kyra is. And I feel like you had all last season to do that. Like he was shooting 50% from three at one point. Like he was shooting something crazy. And then like he just stopped getting minutes. And then you gave him minutes in the playing game where you had given it to Dyson.
That was the craziest thing to me, man. So Jose is out for the last month, and you haven't seen Kyra one bit. Not once, right? You would think, okay, Jose is out. This is the time you're gonna play him. Nope, nothing wrong with him. And then in the play-in, you setting him up to fail.
You set him up to fail. That's exactly what I said. You could look at Kyra's face when like they were like, and he was like, "Oh shit, I'm playing."
Who, me?
Me? What?
I think I could be misremembering, but I feel like somebody asked Willie about that, and the response was like, "Yeah, like this is not something like we discussed with him." I don't know. I think someone asked Kyra
that's exactly what he said. Like, that's exactly what he said. I remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, what am I supposed to say to that? I don't know. Yeah. Like speaking of Willie though, I want to jump to Willie. Like, I don't want to use the term lame duck head coach, but what do you think his future is with the Pelicans? Is he seems to be he's tied to Zion's hamstring and Brandon's toe. Like, is that fair? Is that fair to him?
It's not fair to him, but it might be the unfortunate reality of the situation, right? We're headed into season 3 of Willie Green here, and this team hasn't been able to give him a healthy roster once, so that's unfair to him. But at the same time, I feel like he's left a lot of change on the table when he has had a relative healthy roster, and even with some of like the other players that have been available to him. Notably, I think the guy that I am going to mention here is just Trey Murphy, but we just talked about JV too. Like I think those are things that they have not adjusted on quickly enough, and the hope is Borrego is going to help him with that. So it's a big year for Willie in that regard. Contractually, I don't know where he's at, but like, because they're not very forthcoming with the nature of those contracts, but you might be right that it might be a lame duck situation where like this is a pivotal year for him with regards to his contract. I think like when they made the playoffs, like some extensions kicked in for like Griff and him and all that. I do know they're all on the same timeline. Like Willie, Trajan, Griff, like the major players are all on the same timeline. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that time. I don't know if it's this year or next year, like what the final year is. But I think the general consensus amongst the media sphere and the folks that are in the know is that if this season plays out poorly, people's jobs are going to be on the line. And it's a little too early for me to say it'd be Willie's job. I do feel like they would look at management first. But the problem with looking at management first is if you bring an external person in to run your show, they always want to pick their own coach. They always want to pick their own coach. So I just don't know what that shakeup looks like. If it's just like something like Griff goes, but Trajan stays, does Trajan keep Willie? Like, I think that's a possibility, at least for like a year or two or whatever. Like, I think that's a possibility. But if Griff is going, then what's likely happening is, they're splitting apart Zion and BI and CJ. Like, it's a blow up. It is a restructuring that is happening if people's jobs are being cost.
That was, I feel like you're in my notes. That's crazy. My next question is, if this season plays out poorly, do you look at splitting up BI, Zion, and or CJ?
You have to. You absolutely have to, because you would be, what was it, 5 years, 6 years of the BI Z experience at that point, and then now Brandon's up for an extension. And look, if it goes poorly, but Zion's healthy the whole time and BI is just not good enough, I don't really know what to make of that situation. Because, like, I think the obvious answer is, like, you have to move on from BI and you can't pay him. But then at that point, what is his market? Because he'd only have 1 year left on his contract. And then, like, what do you do with Z? Like, if Z was healthy the whole time and you weren't good, what the hell went wrong? Like, because I feel like Z can just generate wins out of thin air. So it would have to be a pretty crazy situation. But I think either way, if the season's gone bad because Zion wasn't healthy, I think you're left in that same position because, okay, the answer is we're going to move on from Zion. Okay, you're moving on from him. What's the market? Probably not going to be good at that point. And BI is going to be your best guy. Well, you just didn't win enough. Because you didn't win enough, you're moving on from Zion. So it's just like, I feel like all roads of failure, not success. Success, I think, looks differently. But if they fail, I think all roads kind of lead back to the same question of, do you pay BI? And I think no. Like, why? You failed. You failed multiple times. Whatever the reason is, it would have to be something like, I don't know, BI averages like 38-8, and like there was just catastrophic failures on every other side, and like then you'd be like, okay, no, like you pay this guy. But like if he just has if he has the season he had last year, you can't pay that guy. Like, again, if the Pels fail, right? If he has the season he has last year, but Z stays healthy for 70 games and they finish 2 in the West or whatever, then I think it's a different story. It's a tougher decision.
What do you think? Okay, I want to ask you, what do you think the trade value for BI looks like? But I also want to say that I'm scared of Zion at like 28. Like I'm scared to see what that looks like, because I just go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say Zion's 22 right now.
Yeah.
So I don't think 28-year Zion's the Pelicans' problem. I really don't. Like, I think the way they need to operate is they got like 3-4 years of this dude playing at a very, very high level. I don't know. I mean, he may stay healthy for much longer than that, but like contractually and the likelihood of getting like the best years out of him, it's probably a 3 to 4 year window. So like you want to do whatever you can to front load the wins on that and figure out the rest later, right? So like if you can win as much as possible when he's 23, when he's 24, when he's 25 and 26, you can figure out the rest when he's 28 later. So it's like if you don't win at all, then you're cutting bait, and his contract lets you cut bait with him pretty easily. Like he's got a lot of unprotected money that they got in there, and they would be able to get out of it without like major repercussions. Obviously, it would suck because they wouldn't be able, they would have to waive him in that capacity, and they won't get any assets back for it. But it's not like an anchor that's tying you down. Like I can't, I'm paying this guy $35 million a year, and I can't do anything with it. Like that is not a situation they're going to be in, if they choose to.
Yeah. Well, so what do you think that What would you look for in return for a Brandon Ingram trade? Like what do you like? What type of player? Like multiple players? Like what are you seeking at?
I would have looked for Scoot Henderson.
That I swear to God, you're literally in my notes. I That's crazy. The question is, Scoot to the boot. I know you were on the path for that. What do you think a deal for Scoot? Yo,
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a firm believer based on everything I had heard at that time, just piecing together the information. And to be clear, the Pelicans deny this. So they deny this. But based on everything I had heard is if they had offered BI to Charlotte, they could have gotten the deal done. They could, and I don't know what the rest of that deal would have looked like, but like that's the broad strokes, right? BI for the second pick.
right.
They could have gotten that deal done. Um, and 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 so like the Pelicans maintain that they never offered either of their guys, and they wanted to do a picks based thing all along.
Sure.
And you know that I don't know what team ever trades the number 2 pick for a bunch of other picks. I
Yeah.
never seen that happen, but um, right. So that clearly didn't happen. I think they could have done it. I think that was the opportunity, and I would have done it because the way I look at it, you get out of all the contractual issues that are going to present themselves with Bi's extension, Herb's new money, Trey's future contract, Zion already on his max, CJ still on the books, still 25, 26. You get out of all of those issues by getting a rookie scale Scoot Henderson. You're able to build on Zion's timeline, which is the next 4 or 5 years. You probably would have been able to retain the bulk of your asset base, your other picks. So you would have a lot of opportunity to add, and you would have been salary flexible enough to add any piece that you wanted. Like maybe then, you do go get like a Carl Anthony Towns, or you go get Aiton or something else that fits in whatever it is. But you can't make those moves right now because you're over the tax line, and you just wouldn't have those issues had you done that. And if Zion's whole situation blows up, then you punt and you have Scoot and you have Trey, and that's who you build around, and you're fine. You know,
Right.
you have a path forward. Whereas I think the path forward now, if the whole Zion situation doesn't work out, is much less clear.
I saw Scoot in summer league. I was a believer before. I actually wanted Scoot. I was with you. Like I wanted Scoot to be a Pelican. I mean, and again, this is unsourced. I can't prove it. I'm not gonna. I mean, from what I understand, that he met with them a couple times. Like it
They
wasn't
met in Atlanta about 3 nights, the weekend before the draft happened. They met in Scoots from Marietta, so they met over there. And yeah, I mean, like the reporting around that situation is at that time a Scoot wants to be in New Orleans, and that is not a lie. it's not a lie.
yo like, bro. Again seeing him in summer league. I think Amin Thompson is going to be special also,
Right.
but the way that Scoot was blowing by him, I was like, oh, I don't know, man. I think we might have messed that one up. How do you feel about the Borrego hire?
Cautiously optimistic. I think not the one, but Willie has a lot of positive qualities. One of Willie's positive qualities is that he doesn't really carry an ego with him with regards to his assistant coaches. He doesn't feel threatened or feel like, hey, like if I give this person too much responsibility, they're gonna come after my job, or like, I'm training my replacement. I don't think he harbors any of those feelings, and so I think them hiring Borrego for the specific purpose of reinventing this offense, he will have that opportunity to do so, and Willie will empower him in that role um, and he's going to be able to make those changes. But I always say you could have the best scheme in the world. Don't mean shit if the players aren't healthy or if you don't got the players. So that's why I'm cautiously optimistic. Like I think we're going to see some really fun stuff, and I'm sad because uh, Trey and Borrego is really high on Trey, and Trey figured to factor into the system pretty prominently, and so that's something that's going to have to wait a while, uh, and it may not even look the cleanest even when Trey comes back. It might take a few months, right? Because it takes a while for players to come off injury and get up to speed. But I am cautiously optimistic, and I am excited. And I hope it means more JV in creative ways, and I hope we see some other things that we haven't seen from this team before.
It's funny because I think, and I could be wrong, I don't exactly remember the year, but I think Plumlee thrived under Borrego. Point forward Plumlee. Um, I feel like he will get JV involved. I was super excited for Trey because I know there were 0 plays run for Trey last year, which is also mind-boggling. But kind of leads into the lame duck question I had about Willie, right? Because if they aren't successful and you have a guy with experience on the bench now next to him, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you feel like that could be a thing where Willie's looking over his shoulder?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's just kind of going back to what we said. Like, I don't think Willie's A, like the type to like be checking over his shoulder, and B, if this team isn't successful, I would wager there's probably 6 or 7 things to point at before Willie uh, in that situation. And if they do decide to go a different direction than Willie, I don't think they just elevate the guy that was just on the bench because, like, I think he would be a casualty of that.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah.
the other thing I haven't checked in a while is like I don't know if they're still paying Stan his thing, but they're probably not going to make any new head coaching moves until they stop paying Stan.
True. Yeah, true. I totally forgot to understand. That's crazy. I feel like Willie is a good coach. Like I think Willie's with everything it takes reps and it takes like, experience. But I think the thing with Willie is like people like him. People want to play for him. And I think like that, is a kind of like something that is a big deal. You mentioned Trey, and I'm like, I've been watching Trey play basketball all around the world this summer, like literally on feels like every country. He's been on different continents. He's just been hooping worldwide. And then like this happens. And like it has to be some sort of obviously the Pelicans have some sort of like curse on them. And then Jose gets hurt. Following that, who do you think on the bench can step up? Obviously, nobody can shoot 40% like Trey, but like, who do you think can step up and try to like take advantage of them being out?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Jose situation, I think he's gonna be fine. Like, I'd be shocked if he misses game 1.
Okay.
At this point, but if he does, it's probably like 2 or 3 games. So I think Jose is gonna be all right. But in the spirit of that question, he's probably gonna miss at least a portion of camp, if not most of it. The guys that are gonna have those opportunities are Kyra, who we talked about. Dyson's gonna have that opportunity. I'm not sure Sebron will have real opportunity, but man, I wish, I hope for it. We talk about guys who want to run, get up and down the court. Sebron's built that way, and you can kind of, nobody is Zion, and certainly Sebron's not Zion, but you can simulate a rim pressure guy on the bench in like the non-Zion minutes with Sebron, in a way that like I do think Sebron is special, like truly special when it comes to getting to the rim, and so it's gonna be on him to convince the staff that he can defend well enough to play and get those minutes, and actually play himself into a contract because he's on a two-way. And this team has been more than willing to show that they will pay their two-way players. You know, they paid Najee, they paid Jose, they paid EJ. That opportunity's sitting there for him, but I do hope some of it relies on the coaching staff giving him the opportunity, and I hope he gets that run in the preseason. But those are the guys. I'm not gonna say I'm looking for Najee to replace Trey or Jose in any capacity. That's just not a role I'd like to see him in. And frankly, I would like to see investment in some of the other players. It'd be cool to see Hawk get some run. I don't expect much of him as a rookie, but if he gets some run, again, he should be put in situations, in my opinion, where he is A, the smallest player on the court, B, attached to Zion and BI. Like, you know, you want to put him with the best players and also make sure he is not like another guard. You know, like it can't be him and CJ together. Like that's going to be a disaster defensively.
Right.
Jose, I was going to say it can't be him and Jose, but Jose's hurt in this scenario. But like, you know, you see where I'm getting at is like you kind of put him in you reduce his responsibilities and you put him with the best offensive players and see what he can do as just a spacer and shooter. So that'd be interesting to look at.
It's crazy. Again, you are in my notes because my next question was how do you feel about the Hawkins pick? But before you answer that question, I have a really random question. Is Liam Robbins on the team? Does he have a two-way? Like, what is his status?
Yeah, I think they gave him a two. Well, I don't know if they've announced it officially, but I'm pretty sure he's one of their two-ways. So it's gonna be C. Brown, Robbins, and whoever they just signed. I forgot his name. The guy shot 55% from three.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's technically on the two-way squad.
I like Liam. I think Liam is. I mean, you know, like I feel like he has potential, especially if he's going to stretch the. I mean, obviously he's not going to stretch the floor like that, but like you know.
I mean, look, if you're a big body, you can rebound and block shots. Like Walker Kessler shot threes at Auburn, or you went to Auburn, or you went to Pitt? No, he went to Auburn. He went to Auburn. He shot threes at Auburn, and like the idea for him, people used to say like, oh, if he wants to be successful in the NBA, like he's got to find the range, and he was successful as a rookie. And I don't think he took any threes. You know, certainly that wasn't a part of his game. Yeah. And if Liam Robbins, like I think the bar is. I don't want to say the bar is low because actually the bar is pretty high for bigs and incompetent bigs. We've seen what happens when you play incompetent bigs. But he doesn't need to be the spacer if he can rebound and block shots. Right? He doesn't need to be that guy if he can just be huge. He can clean the glass and he can protect the paint. Like you don't need to be a shooter.
Not everybody needs to shoot the ball. Not everybody needs
Zubac. Zubac is gonna have generational wealth, and he don't even protect the paint all that well, you know. So,
man, listen. I think I asked you, but how do you feel about the Hawkins pick? I think you were higher on Grady than Hawkins, if I'm not mistaken. But like, do you feel like it was a good pick for them? Like, what do you think about it?
I was not high on that pick. I was pretty disappointed by it. I think just from a theory standpoint, I'm not a fan of drafting a specific skill set because you're drafting that specific skill set with the idea that that's going to fit in with your current group of players. And I think the turnover on an average NBA team is too high. So statistically, every 3 years, 75% of the players on your roster are not going to be there. And that goes across for every team. And so in 3 years from now, and it takes about 3 to 4 years, again, going back to Dyson conversation, it takes about 3 to 4 years for a rookie to be truly impactful. It's rare. Like we're spoiled with Herb, we're spoiled with Trey, we're spoiled with these guys. Those are not the norm, right? It takes 3 to 4 years for those guys to be more impactful than the average vet minimum player. And some of them never get there, right? So I don't, banking on this idea that Hawk's going to be a day one guy, I don't buy it, right? Even though he is a little bit of an older drafted pick. Secondly, I think people comparable to his skill set were signed for really, really cheap. And so if the idea was to just get that skill set, they could have got like Malik Beasley went for the minimum.
Yep.
And so it's tough for me to get super excited about it. I would have taken a different direction on that pick, but at the same time, like I'm now that he's on the Pelicans, I'm rooting for his success, and I do think that he was genuinely the best shooter in college this last year, and his movement shooting is genuinely special. So pairing that with Zion specifically should yield a lot of good results. But you're wasting your time if you're not putting him next to Z. If you're not putting him next to Z and Bi collectively, every minute he spends without Z is not as valuable as one that he could be spending with Z, in my opinion. Obviously, every minute is valuable for any rookie, but there's some more valuable minutes than others. And I just fear, my biggest fear with him is that if his shot doesn't fall, he's not going to contribute much, like Devontae Graham, right? Like we saw with tail end of JJ Redick, like there was nights where he just wasn't hitting. You're just like, man, it's rough out there. It's rough.
Yeah. What do you? Okay, let me switch gears for a second. Wayne or Juvie?
Wow, that's a major gear switch, by the way.
Major, yeah,
major. Wayne.
Why?
So there's a couple reasons for me. Reason number one is like I'm from New Orleans, but I'm not from New Orleans because I was born in India. I lived in Australia when I was younger. Lived all around the States before we moved around a lot when I was young, like a lot, like every 3 to 6 months or so, and then settled into New Orleans. And so when I settled into New Orleans, Wayne was like at his height, like, well, not at his height, like he ascended, but like Wayne was ascending just as Chris Paul was ascending. Wayne was reaching that stratosphere, and so my experience with like New Orleans and like New Orleans rap and hip hop started from Wayne. And then, I got, then I exposed myself to like the rest of the stuff. And so it's been a process for me. And I think I'm like that with a lot of media. Like people ask me like, what's your favorite Disney movie? I'm like, I didn't grow up in Disney movies. Like my parents don't know what Disney was. I never saw that when I was a kid. This is not part of my cultural identity. And so like whatever I'm exposed to, I'm exposed to. And so Wayne was my first introduction to New Orleans hip hop. And I gotta say it was hell of an introduction.
The follow question was gonna be Cash Money or No Limit, but I feel like I know the answer now just based on what you just said. So I'm gonna go to this. I know you eat healthy. I know you eat pretty healthy. But let's just say you were gonna go to Popeyes. What would your order be?
That's tough. Like I'm a vegetarian, so I
right.
avoid that stuff. But like chicken is something that like, especially like fried chicken, is something that like speaks to me. It's just like, man, that looks good. Like, and like I've tried it, so I'm like, I know it tastes good too. I see. The thing is, I've never like been to Popeyes and ordered something, but I would probably order the spicy chicken sandwich. And I'm a big fan of spice. Like, give me anything spicy, man. I'm
saying
just love spice. So I'd probably do that.
How long you been a vegetarian?
I was raised that way, and then
Gotcha.
as I got older, I was like, let me, let me see what the deal is with various things, and wasn't really a fan of anything except for chicken. And I was like, chicken, especially when it's done well, and anything fried, really. I mean, like when it's fried and seasoned well, 2 thumbs up. But then made a decision after that, like, no, I'm gonna stick on being a vegetarian. Just it's a little healthier for me. I'm not the type to grandstand on like its ethical nature or whatever. Like I feel like that's everyone's personal relationship and personal journey, and this works for me. It keeps me healthy.
I feel you. I think that I can give up everything but seafood. Like,
interesting.
I can like fish, shrimp, like things like that. I can do without chicken. I can do without beef, but like seafood, I need to have that. Um, 1 second, we gotta pay a bill. The bill collector, Justin Jermaine Napoli, is
Can you believe we've had 7 months without an NFL game? Crazy, right? Well, good thing that's over. NFL's here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving you a can't-miss offer. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 on any NFL game. DraftKings is hooking everyone up with game day greatness. Download now and use code BOOT to sign up. New customers can take home $200 in bonus bets instantly just for betting $5. That's code BOOT only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours.
all right. Shout out to the Justin. He's got a voice for the radio. I have a follow-up question. I have a follow-up question for you. What is your favorite vegetarian dish?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I feel like I have to narrow it down because there's a lot of dishes that can be done with meat or without meat, and they're not like uniquely vegetarian. So like I'm a big fan of Asian cuisine. I'm a big fan of Thai food. Again, stuff that's
Mm,
spicy, flavorful. Um, love it. You know, we went to a Thai place
it was
in
delicious.
Vegas, and that place was
Yes.
amazing. And we had the craziest Uber ride um,
Not only did
on
we
the
have the
way there.
craziest Uber ride, we had the craziest party invitation of all
Oh
time.
my
Also,
gosh! Oh, had forgotten about that. I'm pretty sure those tickets are laying around somewhere. But I'm a big fan of Thai food, and it's really difficult for me to narrow down like one particular dish. But you know, like if I had to pick a noodle dish, it'd probably be the
mm,
drunken noodles or pad ki mao. Uh, and again, that can be done vegetarian or not vegetarian, and most places will accommodate you with fried tofu instead as your protein of choice. Um, but you know, in New Orleans, there's this place like off of Rampart called Budsies or Budsies. I don't exactly know how you pronounce it,
hmm
but they have like a special house noodle that's like kind of like a mix between like the drunken noodle and something else, and they call it like the Budsy noodle, and it's incredible. Strongly recommend
let me write that
going
down,
there.
bro. I love
Yeah,
drunken noodles. I literally just had drunken noodles Saturday, but I had it with shrimp. But like,
yeah,
I love, I love Thai food. I love like all food. It don't really matter. But like, yeah, I'm willing. I'm willing.
yeah. I'm a big fan of just like yeah Asian, but like any kind of food that's got flavor and spice, like I'm with it. Like you know, like I'm Indian, and like my mom just an absolutely amazing cook, just incredible. So I don't go to Indian restaurants for that reason. I'm like I'm not paying for that. Like
Yeah, you get
I
that
can
at
get it at
home.
home, and like you know, I'm just I get it better. But that kind of like it's because of that. Like I feel like I need to have flavor in my palate, and like I can't just like cheese. You can't replace flavor with cheese. I feel like a lot of like
Mm,
dishes that are like, in my opinion, lack creativity. They're like, how do we, you know, make this delicious? We're just gonna add a lot of cheese, and I'm just like, yes, it is delicious. Cheese is delicious. Adding all that is great, but you're really not, you know, you're just hide the fact that you don't have flavor on.
I agree with you. I'm a big fan of like spice. I love like spice. Um, I was I think I was trying to go to Suko Thai, but man, my wife ended up
Oh, what
picking
location? What location?
the one on well, so wait, so hold on. My favorite one is the one uptown.
Right. Uptown Lido, of course.
Of course. But hold on. While we here, I gotta give you your props. I ended up going to Creole Creamery.
Okay.
Yes, you were absolutely right. That one is so much better. The line was crazy though. It was like literally down a block by the
Oh
bank.
my God. No, those people go crazy.
I I'm just like, but I went. It was great. But I ended up going to Sugotai of Elysian Fields, like all the way, like
Yeah.
damn near
Like
about a
Royal or
quarter.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it was solid. Like it was, it was good. But the one uptown is just like it's the best one. I used to know a girl who worked at. She was the bartender there, and like it was like the food was incredible. But anyways, I love Asian food also. I got a couple more questions for you, bro. I swear I'm gonna let you get out of here. Didn't know this was gonna go this long.
Oh, good, man. For you, I got time.
My dog. My dog. All right. So organizationally, let's just say if you're looking at a team or you're looking at an organization, who would you model the Pelicans after? Who set the blueprint you want them to follow?
I think this is a little bit tough. I think two organizations come to mind right now. The first one was the Thunder, and the Thunder is a little tough because they haven't exactly attempted to win yet. So it's tough to grade them on a scale of like, oh, they're going to be a really successful franchise because we just don't know. We just don't know what that looks like. But from a standpoint of them understanding, them being put in a terrible situation where like, okay, they traded for Paul George. Paul says, after a year, I'm out. I want out. And then Russ is like, fine, if he's gone, I'm gone too. And you just lost KD prior, right? From being able to turn that around into, they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they got 30,000 million picks, however many they got. But at each opportunity, they had to squeeze $1 out of somebody. And by $1, I mean a pick. They did.
Yeah.
And they did it while taking on players who nobody wanted and then proving to the world that, like, no, these players are still good, and then turning them around for more picks, right? Chris Paul, Al Horford. I don't know why I'm stopping at those two guys, but I think those are like the two big prominent examples of what's going on. Certainly not the only ones where it's happened with. And now they're set up so well from both a draft standpoint. Like they have Chet, they have Giddey, they have J-Dub, they have SGA. To where like, man, I believe that score can go somewhere. But they have so many assets where if you believe that core can't go anywhere, they can go get whoever they want. If they wanted to insert themselves in any conversation, they could. But the thing is, they had a plan and they stuck with it no matter what. They're like, we know we're going to lose a lot, but we're going to stick with this. And they stuck with their guns. And that's the biggest thing. I admire that. I feel like the Pelicans should have done that. They should have stuck with a plan, whatever that plan was. And I think the Pelicans have kind of tried to split the difference. Which is a plan in and of itself, but not one I enjoy. The second org I would pick is the Jazz, who have very similarly, again, these teams that don't want to win have an inherent advantage because they're not competing with the same groups of competitors. Like the Pelicans want to win, so they're competing with every other team that wants to win. That's about 26 teams in the league, right? So you want to go get a guy like OG Anunoby, you're competing with 25, 26 other teams. The Jazz, they don't really care. Like the outcome of the season is not important, so they can get a guy like John Collins for like 2 seconds. Right?
Yeah.
They can do that. They have a ton of picks because the Rudy Gobert trade and the Donovan Mitchell trade. They got a bunch of fun, excited. Like Lauri Markkanen's a G. Like he's just a really good player now.
Should have been an Alonzo deal, but yeah,
should have been. And they're salary flexible. They didn't hold on to Conley for sentimental reasons. They flipped him, the opportunity came, and they're like, yeah, we'll move Conley. It's okay. And they have the opportunity to be a solid team, but again, they don't care in the sense if they're not, they have time to figure that stuff out. So like just organizations that are valuing the opportunity to squeeze, I guess use the word value, but to squeeze value out of places, out of every opportunity. I admire that. But I do acknowledge that it's unfair because they haven't attempted to win at the highest level, so you can't hold them to the standard. But I can't model myself after a Boston or an LA or a Miami because you're just never going to get free agents like that. So you got to look at the small teams and what they've done. The Grizzlies did the same thing in that they leveraged their cap space and their salary pieces, and they got paid to take on players. They got paid to take on picks. They got paid to take on assets. And that's what every small market team needs to do, in my opinion. And the Pelicans just have never done that. They've never been paid to take on a bad contract. And yeah, they have plenty of them. They've dumped plenty of them.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think they haven't taken on any bad contracts?
I don't know. Legitimately don't. Like when the Pelicans, year one of Zion, they had max level cap room. And Griff is pretty notorious in saying, I can't do anything with cap in this market, which is true. They tried. They tried it with Kyle Lowry and all of that. They ended up giving it to JJ. They ended up trading for favors. Went nowhere. They then turned that flexibility into Steven Adams plus Eric Bledsoe and gave Steven Adams more money because, why? I can't do anything with cap room. I might as well pay Steven before he hits free agency so I don't lose him for nothing, and I'll deal with the fallout later. Well, the fallout was you had to pay to get off of him. Cool. Then you create cap room for Kyle Lowry and Chris Paul and all that. None of them want it. So you end up what? Paying to go get Devontae Green. Like, you have the cap room too. But I don't know, man. It's just I feel like they either because Zion is so good already, or because Brandon is good, or because they had so many young players, they wanted to set the right expectations. But they chose to actively pursue wins, but not at the highest level, right? They're not putting their name in for KD and Dame and Lillard, all those guys, but the playoff level. And they've chosen to pursue that every single time and come up short more often than not.
Let's say you are the Pels GM opening night. No, not even say opening night. Like, let's just say you're the Pels GM. Opening night, though, what could be any player in the NBA? What starting five do you roll out?
Wait. What are my restrictions here?
Yeah, none. You got free reign, man. Like,
It's 2K?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. So I feel like that's kind of. I don't know. I don't want to take it to the 2K direction.
Okay.
I'm going to take some artistic liberties with my answer.
Okay, so let's say trying to think of some restrictions.
I feel like I understand the spirit of your question. And,
okay.
So let me attempt to answer, and you can tell me if I'm not creative enough with it. So
you good. Come
on. So I would. Right now, I would go try to flip JV and Kyra. So I would say JV and Larry. JV and Larry, and you throw Kyra in there, whatever. I would get two bigs. I'd get Zach Collins and I'd get Kelly Olynyk. Those are the two bigs I'd go get. I'd probably start Zach Collins, and Kelly can play the Larry role off the bench. But at all times, I'm going to have a stretch big out there. And both those guys can pass the ball. They can pass the ball, legitimately pass the ball. They're playmakers. So I am giving Borrego free reign with regards to that. That would be move number one. Move number two would be trying to attach assets to CJ and just trying to find a different solution there. So I think that's probably a deadline move. I can't pull it off by opening night. It's just not happening. But if one of those moves, if I want to go full 2K, but stay within the realistic mode, I am sending CJ and Larry somewhere. I don't care where. I'm getting back Dame Lillard. JV's going out too, and give me Zach Collins. And yeah, so I got Dame. I'm starting Dame. Obviously, Trey's hurt, so I can't start him. But I'm starting Herb, Zion, Bi, and Zach Collins, and that's my starting five. but if I can't go get Dame, let me stay in the realistic realm of just getting Kelly Olynyk and Zach Collins, and just I'm getting a lot of shooting from the big man position and a lot of passing, and I'm gonna have the most creative offense in the world that you can't turn off.
Here's my follow-up question to that. Why is Cody Zeller our backup center?
Because he was willing to take the minimum and come to New Orleans.
No further questions there.
There's no other reason.
Nope.
I mean, they could give the minimum to Dwight, but does Dwight want to come to New Orleans? I don't know, right? They can give the minimum to Hassan Whiteside. Does he want to come to New Orleans? Maybe. He's actually been out the league for a while.
I was about to say, where is he?
I don't know, but I do believe Larry on this though when he said like, hey, like Cody's a pro, and
I'll believe
like
that.
being a pro matters, and like guys like Dyson and Hawk and even Herb and Trey, like watching pros be pros is like that's important. I believe that. Like that is an important thing, and for that to be your 15th guy or 12th guy, that's pretty solid.
All right, are you ready for the most difficult question of the night?
Oh my god! Yeah,
all right, here we go. I want your top 5 basketball players of all time, but I want you to give me their musical comparison. It could be any genre of music.
Oh my god, I feel like I'll be terrible at answering this question. Man. Okay, well, I think the first one's easy. MJ is MJ.
Yep.
So MJ is Michael Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, MJ
okay.
MJ is MJ.
Okay.
LeBron. LeBron would be my number 2. And musically, man, I feel like I'm so bad at this. I would say LeBron is the Beatles. Because he's always putting the band together.
Okay, I like that.
And the Heatles, yeah, natural comparison there.
I like that.
Shit. Number 3 for me is Kareem. And I would pick I'm trying to figure out like what the app comparison, because I'm so bad at this stuff. Like my comparison I'd be looking for a musical artist that just had insane longevity and just an insane like production. Like just I'm looking for longevity here and just being at the top of the game for a very long time.
Let me see if I can help you out here. Trying to think.
It's a tough question, like off the top.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. It's super difficult. I'm thinking. Okay, so, I would say, what about like U2?
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, hold on. Since we here, Fleetwood Mac.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, it's been a long time. You could also go Prince.
Oh, Prince is a really good one. I think Prince is a good one. Yeah, Kareem and Prince. I like that one.
All right.
Number 4 for me. I think this is where it gets controversial, but this is my personal bias.
Yeah.
Is Shaq. Shaq is number 4 all time for me. Just think he was the most dominant to.
Wait, why is that controversial?
I feel like people would probably want Kobe in there or Wilt in there or Russell in there.
Man, I say this. If I had a pick, whether it be an NBA team or I'm playing in the park, Shaq is my first pick.
Right?
Shaq is my first pick.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah. So Shaq, I would say, is. Can Shaq be Madonna?
Shaq could be Madonna.
I would say Shaq is Madonna.
Madonna has had like 8 different careers, so
right, just dominant. Just and Madonna's an icon. Shaq's an icon. I would say Shaq is Madonna. And then my 5th one, and this one is always tough for me, because I think I changed this one up a lot, but I'll end up going with Wilt, and no disrespect to Bill Russell or Kobe or any of these people. Like I think if you ask me on any given day, like it changes. And like honestly, like Steph might get there for me. Steph might get to the top 5 for me, but not there yet. I just think the sheer absurdity of like Wilt's is enough for me to put him at number 5. And I would say Wilt is Elvis.
I like that.
I would say Wilt is Elvis.
Wilt's numbers are like every time I look at like a stat of Wilt, I'm like, that's stupid. Like that's dumb. How do you even get that? How do not dumb in a way of like it's dumb, like just like that just is insane that you did that.
Right. It's just every stat goes back to Wilt, right? Like, oh, it's the first person to do this, and it's like what they left out was since Wilt.
Like, what the hell was Wilt doing? Like, what was just, bro? Like, his I forgot what year it was, but I was looking at something one day. I just Googled it. It was the 1962 season. He averaged 50. That's just saying that sounds silly. He averaged 50 and he had like 25 rebounds a game. He was shooting like 55%. Like
they don't even record his blocks. So like there's people say like he averaged like 10 blocks a game.
Like
the craziest thing to me is he had whatever season it was, he averaged like 48.7 minutes per game. And it's like that record's never gonna be broken. That record, nobody playing 48 minutes a game, every minute of every single game. Like, but it was more because of overtimes. But yeah, no one's ever gonna break that record.
Yo, you left out one thing about OKC, man. The greatest turnaround in shooting wise in NBA history I've ever seen. Terrence Williams shot 25% from 3 as a Pelican.
Yo.
Got traded to OKC and shot 44% from 3 that year.
Kenrich a dog, man. That's the delay factor in the Fred Winson, training. It's just he stuck it out with Fred and then took a year and boom, kicked in. I don't know, dude. OKC's seems like a really good developmental place.
I agree.
Because like it's one of those environments where like it's not that like failure is the norm. Like it's different than like like the Sacramento of the old, right? The current Houston Rockets where there's just like a bunch of like I feel like individuals who are trying to achieve individual goals, and in the process of that it's a very bad team, and so like they and the team actively encourages him, whereas I feel like OKC like it's more of a, hey, we want you to step outside your comfort zone. And it's okay if you're not quite good at whatever that is. But like, we want you to do it. And it's like more of like I don't know why, but it feels like a more positive environment for these young players to go in and be okay with failing in. And they're not just put in ridiculous situations where like, all right, Kenrich, go take 30 shots a game. Like, that's not it. Like, you're still playing your role, but like, hey, like, it's okay if you're not like playing it perfectly or whatever. Like, it's okay if you're trying, 1 or 2 new things. I don't think that aspect of development is present in every situation because every team has different stakes.
Right. Sam Presti is a legend. It's fucking incredible. Like everything he touches turns into gold. It's just insane.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, he understood very clearly that it's a numbers game, and he got as many opportunities and bites at the apples as possible. I mean, he's like, I'm just going to overwhelm the system with numbers. If I can't, he's like, because his whole thing was, like I got KD, I got Russ and Harden and PG, and all these guys left me. All of these guys. So I can't rely on that. I'm not going to go trade for any more disgruntled stars. I'm just not going to do it. What I'm going to do is invest in cost control over 8 years of a player's career and hope that I can go get some of, like I can get the next one of these guys and I have them for 8 years. Like that is my pathway to success. And I respect that.
Killing it. What Pell's record prediction this coming up season? What you giving?
I've been telling people I'm betting the under. I mean, I'm not. No. to clarify, I say avoid the bet. Do not touch them. Do never gamble on this team. That is my official stance regarding the Pelicans. However, if you force me to pick on their over-under, which is 44.5, I would pick the under. And it's just because I'm jaded with this team,
Absolutely.
and I rather expect little and be surprised with more than expect more and be disappointed with less.
Shit. I can't say I'm mad at you. How many games does Zion play this year?
See, this I wanted to say this is the year he's going to play 67, but then like I can't pick the under and say he's going to play 67. So it's like I don't know if it's okay for me to have these conflicting beliefs, but like
It's okay.
the fan in me believes he's going to play 67 and they're going to be good, but the realist in me is probably like we're going to be lucky to get 50, and that's why they're not going to win more than 44.5.
How many does BI play?
I say he misses about 15 games or so he probably about 65.
Okay.
60,
Right.
so yeah, just around 65, I would say.
This is my last question to you, and then we have like a couple fan questions. Not fan, but who wins the NBA title this year? Who wins the title?
If everyone stays healthy, I'd still pick the Nuggets.
Same. I agree. I don't.
Yeah, I would pick the Nuggets. Out the East, I would say the Celtics probably come out the East again. I think that's that. Well, again, Miami came out last time, but I would say for a second time the Celtics will come out. So I would say the Celtics would. I still am a believer in Milwaukee, man. Though I do think like as long as Giannis out there and they're not getting hurt, like they're a tough out. And I think their series in Miami. Both the times they've been beat by Miami's a little bit of like a weird outlier situation. I don't know what's going on there, but I have no idea what their new coach is going to be like. So we'll see.
Who's Nick Nurse?
No, Adrian Griffin. Nick Nurse is in Philly.
Yeah. I'm tripping. Nick Nurse is in Philly.
Yeah.
That's good. This could be interesting too, especially with the Harden situation. Or lack thereof, whatever, however you want to clarify that. First question from the media man himself. What is the wildest stat you've ever discovered?
So I have two of these. One of them I learned for the first time this summer was JV has played in like for his national team every summer of his career.
Wow.
Like that's pretty insane. Like since he's been like a teenager, essentially. Like he's every summer he goes back to Lithuania and balls. Like that is what he does. That's his off season. He plays basketball for his country, and he loves doing that. And he turns around and is a horse. Like when he comes back, like he's just he doesn't miss games, man. Just he shows up to work. I thought that was pretty insane. The other insane stat during the Stan Van Gundy year, I was looking at some play-by-play data and was kind of do a dive into their defense and why their defense was not that good or why Zion was actually a positive on their defense. And one thing they were terrible at that Stan yelled at them for all year that year was their terrible transition defense. And that is when I discovered that a Zion Williamson layup attempt, doesn't matter if he makes it or not, is the best transition defense in the game. Think about it. Think about it. When Zion attempts a layup, he draws so much attention because they know he might get his own rebound too, that they're not leaking to the other side. And so regardless of the outcome, like opponents shooting efficient, like the transition frequency, transition frequency, the amount of times they were able to get out and run and be efficient in transition was dramatically lower than pretty much any other option. And so to build the best transition defense, I guess that's not a fair way to say it, but like a Zion Williamson layup attempt was the equivalent of the best transition defense in the game.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Because they were so terrified of him at the rim, like it just blew up opponents' transition plans.
I mean, as they should. And then it's not like they go get in his way, like so.
Right.
Nobody's taking that. Block.
Right. They got to box him out. They got to spend 2-3 bodies to box him out, so you can't run when he's doing that. And plus, it creates like less of those long rebounds and that kind of stuff too.
That dude has the quickest first jump I feel like I've ever seen in my life. Second jump. I'm
It's
sorry, quickest second jump.
insane. It is insane to me. Like, he is officially listed at like 285, right? Frequently.
Mhm,
Uh, I I've been hitting the gym a lot, right?
mhm.
And I'm not trying to flex here. It's not like a subtle flex, but like when I'm trying to squat like 285 or like 300, I cannot imagine that amount of weight going as high as he's going. Like it is crazy to me. And like, okay, even if you were like, okay, well, Shamit, you're like your weight plus that weight's too much more. So like, whatever, add the difference in my weight that makes me 285. Whatever. It's not going 40. It's not going 40 inches in the air. Like that's crazy to me. Like, and the fact that he's moving at the speed he's moving is just it doesn't make sense to me. Like I can't imagine the amount of force he generates.
He was made in the lab. He's not a real person. Like it don't make sense. Like his genetic makeup is crazy. And then then to lose weight as fast as he loses, like it's I don't know. I have no idea what type of physical makeup he has, but like it's crazy. Shout out to A Levy, man. A Levy wants to know he needs some frisbee stories. Feel like you played basketball on some level, maybe in college. Needs to do some music. Oh, damn. Well, I did ask some music questions, but I could have asked
You
more.
did.
My bad. And he wants your go-to spots, food dishes. We kind of talked about that.
All right, so frisbee stories. Man, I don't know, man. I feel like frisbee stories are it's like I don't want to say it's like a little bit lame. I'm not trying to like knock the own sport I play, but like it's kind of like, you know, telling like recounting like the glory days of your like high school football career or something. Like I feel like it's not that exciting for other people to hear about. So I mean like I've had some like really good times playing frisbee. I've been fortunate enough to play like compete at the world level a couple times now, and so it's been something in my life that like every summer, because that's like primarily when my playing season is. I coach the Tulane men's team, and their season is a little bit different. Uh, it's been something I look forward to every summer, and like it allows me to get my competitive outlet. And it's just from a mental health standpoint, it's been huge for me. Obviously, there's physical health benefits for it, but just like being able to compete, being able to work and look forward to compete, like it's a blessing for me. So I enjoy it. With regards to basketball, I never did play at the college level or anything like that. I don't have the height at all for that, but I did. When I went to UNO, I was in that gym pretty much every single day playing pickup, and for a 2 year stretch, I want to say I played pickup about 5 times a day. Obviously, I played a ton, like at the park and like in high school and stuff growing up. Like that's just pickup was like just something I did. And but at UNO, the best part was like when like their team season would end and all those hoopers would show up. I remember the first time I was in a game with one of them, and our team was I'm the type of player. So when I was playing regularly, like one, I was a knockdown shooter.
Okay.
Two, I had a lot of stamina, so I ran around a lot. And so I was just running off screens, just running around a lot, just to tire my people out. Three, I would also run around a lot on defense. So like frequently, like I'd be one of the few people running back and transition on defense, just because I'm like, why not, right? So we're playing this game, and I think we're down. I think we're down about 2 points or whatever, but it's game point for them. And our team turns it over, and the dude takes off, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like I'm gonna pursue you, like I'm guarding him. And he gets to the paint, and he like throws it up. I'm like, that's a garbage layup attempt, bro. Like he's not like that. That's a garbage attempt. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. What I didn't know was that he was actually throwing a lob, and then I turn around and just get yammed on by some dude who was like actually like playing for the team. And I was like, I just got put on an absolute post. Obviously the whole gym lost it too, but like I was like, bro, like what are you throwing up? I'm like, because I had no idea someone was behind me the whole time, and just completely got postered. But I didn't quit, man. I stayed around. Like I played my couple years there. I had a
Hey
good time.
man,
I'd always get
listen,
picked up because I could shoot. People knew I could shoot, so I'd always get picked up.
listen, man. The thing about basketball is you get dunked on. Like everybody, if you really hoop, like you get dunked on. It happens. Like the thing is, like you said, not quitting because like it's some posters I've seen that I don't know how that happened. Listen, the last question is from John O'Barnes. John wants to know. I hate this guy so much. John wants to know: is there anybody you want to challenge to one? Because man, I think people got you fucked up, man. Like they don't know you can shoot, man. Like they don't know you can hoop. Like they just think, you know what I'm saying? Like you just in the numbers. Like they don't really know.
Me and Josh still gotta like run our 1v1. I feel like we're trying to get that set up at some point. So that'd be fun. Other than that, like all challenges are welcome, man. I don't care. Like I'll take all the smoke. Like, look,
Okay.
here's the thing. Like I'll be honest, I haven't played in a while, but like I'm irrationally confident, and I feel like I play better when I'm confident too. But the other thing is like I work my ass off to stay in shape. So like
Yeah.
I feel like that's gonna count for something. Like so if you're not in shape, like you can't touch me. But like if you're in shape, cool. Like it'd probably be a game.
So all right, this is my final question. Have you seen Christian Clark play before? You hoop with Christian?
I have not hooped with Christian yet, which is very, very unfortunate. But I've talked to Christian about hooping a lot.
Okay.
And we gotta organize something here, man. We really do. Wait, also Pelicans, where's the media game? Come on, man. Like, come on.
Will
Is like
Guillory
time.
has been calling for Will. When I talked to Will was like,
Will's a sniper.
Will is. That's crazy. I've never seen you in UNO because I know like that's that. I mean, well, I know Will from before that, but like, yeah, like that's pretty much what me and Will were.
I would say 2012, 2013, 2014, I was in there pretty regularly. 2015, I slowed down because that's when I started getting the frisbee more. Because someone told me I could start picking up with the Tulane team, even though I went to UNO, and I was like, all right, bet. So like I started spending more time playing frisbee, and I started getting the frisbee more then. But yeah, about like from 2012, 2013, 2014, that was like my day. I had a shit else to do, man. I'm like, look, classes are over about 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'm gonna head there, hoop till about 7, 8. Yeah, that's or whenever I think they close it early on Fridays or whatever. But like,
you ever hooped in
the
you ever hooped in a Raleigh Center, Tulane?
Yeah, hooped there a couple times.
Also good runs.
Yeah, also yeah. That was I always felt like UNO was more fun though. But Raleigh was a good fix.
UNO, I don't know what's going on with UNO now, bro. The court's so trash now. They don't keep it clean. They don't like.
Really?
It's dirty. It's dirt everywhere. That's what 5 tore his Achilles actually.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, 5 tore his Achilles there. But like, I don't know. Anyways, I was trying to say, Will told me that the Pels, the media, he said the fans, they don't stand a chance. He was like, the media will literally bust the fans' ass. They just don't know it. So
I believe that. I believe that. I believe that. I'm calling everybody out on Twitter, man. I'm calling everybody out. I'll take all the smoke. Just bring it. Like I'll stand on that.
This is what we like, man. I got no more questions. You've been amazing. Thank you for your time. This shit went literally an hour and 13 minutes longer than I thought it would. But I mean, it's love, man. Like I appreciate talking to you. You're my homeboy. Sure. We got to get back together on the pool table because I need my rematch. But man, I'll see you soon. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Appreciate this. This was a great time. Hopefully we can do this more frequently too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, hell yeah. Especially with the season coming up. Like I'm gonna have hella questions, and I'm trying to do this more frequently anyway. So no doubt.
Absolutely.
All right, bro.